selfishly, I wanted Matt Nagy obviously to work out well for the Chicago. Great if we didn't have to go through and hire a coach. We didn't go through the Matt Eberflus era. I wish Matt Nagy just would have been the guy that we thought he was going to be, and he went out there and killed it. He did not, and it's cool. I always liked him personally. One of the things I always liked though is that it was an easy Halloween costume for me. I had a Bears visor, and I would walk around in my Bears gear, and I would hold up a play sheet like this, just walking around with a play sheet over my mouth, calling plays, trick-or-treating everybody, and it was really easy. And I know that when you look at these videos too, you're going to be like, oh my God, it's like a mirror looking at each other, but don't take my word for it. Let's go check it out. Sammy, let's start the show.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast with Adam Rank.
It's Hester trying to work it back to the middle. Gets past the first wave, and here he goes. It's Hester inside the 30. Hester's going to take it all the way for a touchdown. And no flag, 92 yards.
The sickest Chicago Bears and fantasy football podcast. Sports entertainment like no other. It's gonna be sick.
Why are we still talking to Matt Nagy? Hey, everybody. Welcome to this very special edition of the Sick Podcast with Adam Rank. I know a lot of people were curious why we were sitting there talking to Matt Nagy. Like, Matt Nagy was at the Super Bowl. It's not like I went to his house. I wasn't staking out the Piggly Wiggly in Kansas City being like, hey, dude, let me ask you about the Chicago Bears. No, it was like, listen, you're here and you once coached the Chicago Bears, so it just seems pertinent that we would ask you a few questions about the team since you were here. I would have not picked up the phone. I would not have called him. I wouldn't have done any of that stuff. So it was one of those things. And by the way, it was very, what did I say? It was not chilling, but I was worried because he's like, hey, Adam. I go, oh, damn it. He knows who I am. Yeah, I never was nasty about him. I never said anything about him personally. Same with Matt Eberflus. I was like, I'm not saying that he's a bad person. Is he a bad head coach? In this instance, yes. But as a person, not a bad person. So I like Matt Nagy as a human being, and you'll see it here in a second. But before we do that, want to let everybody know and give a special shout out to our friends at Windy City Sports Cards. That's right. At Windy City Sports Cards, we specialize in buying and selling all things related to Chicago sports. Whether you are a diehard fan of the Bears, Bulls, Cubs, White Sox, Blackhawks, Sky, Fire, whomever, we have got you covered with an extensive selection of sports memorabilia and collectibles. And in addition to their Chicago-focused items, they have a wide variety of items of other teams and players. So if you're a Jamal Charles fan, if he helped win you a fantasy league years ago, as he did for me, I had him. Not only did I have him, I stacked him with Alex Smith in that game against the then Oakland Raiders. Everybody knows the game too. I know like Captain Winks will be listening to this, be like, well, I remember that game. Everybody remembers that game. I think there were a lot of kids conceived after that game happened that night. There's a lot of kids named Jamal because they were conceived the night that Jamal Charles had a huge game against the Oakland Raiders in the Oakland Coliseum. But in any event, speaking of current Kansas City Chiefs, I think Matt Nagy's still there. He got locked down in the Super Bowl by our guy, Vic Fangio. But let's listen to the first clip here. Sammy, go ahead and play it.
Move on, and so now Chicago's moving on with Ben Johnson, and they got a great quarterback there, so they'll have a lot of good things going their way. But I'm loving where.
Yeah, we were asking him. I asked Matt Nagy if I said, hey, listen, I go at some point like you've won a back-to-back Super Bowls, going for a third at the time. So do you ever want to just put it in Chicago space? Then look at me. All of you guys said I couldn't coach football, and now look at me. But no, it's super gracious. He could have victory lapped us. He could have laughed at me. He could have been like, don't even talk to me. I don't need to talk to the Chicago media, but he's still, I'm legitimately happy for him. I even said this, to him afterwards. I said, I'm happy for you. Glad that you're doing well. I don't want to see a human being fail. You know what I'm saying? Well, some, depending. I just want to see Matt Nagy happy, and he's very gracious for us. And I think that people are excited for us. He said some nice things about our coach. I think, again, similar similar, but not quite similar, because Ben Johnson did spend 2 years calling plays. Matt Nagy did not have that experience. So I think that's going to be one of the biggest difference between Ben Johnson and Matt Nagy. We also got another quote from Matt Nagy. Sammy, why don't we go ahead and play that one if we could, please?
Any piece of advice to Ben Johnson, what would it be?
I said this earlier, win and beat the Packers. Start there. And if you do that, you'll have a good shot.
All right, thank you so much. Appreciate
it, man. No problem.
See, he was so nice. I feel bad. Again, never said anything bad, but I do love the whole deal. The win, and beat the Packers. The advice that he has for Ben Johnson, win and beat the Packers. And again, this goes back to something that I was talking about when Ben Johnson was hired. What I really enjoyed was the fact that Ben Johnson came out there and said Matt LaFleur by name, called him out, said, I like beating Matt LaFleur. Not, I like beating the Packers. I like beating Matt LaFleur. We know that. That was a clip that was getting a lot of play. People dare he. Even Peter Schrager had talked about this. I don't know if Peter Schrager had seen me talking about it, but Peter Schrager brought it up after I did and was like, you know what? A little saucy, a little spicy, cool little rivalry brewing right there. But again, none of it matters. It's cool. Like, this is one of the things, and, you know, Aaron Nagler was pointing this out. Like, it's cool because we always seem to win the offseason. And I remember when Matt Nagy was hired, a couple of my friends didn't like the hire. Matt Tanton was one of them, who was one of our producers on the NFL Fantasy Live show back in the day. He's like, I don't like this hire, but I loved Matt Nagy, and it's not unusual for us to love the hires that we make. Eberflus, I was not as, even like, no. Eberflus caught me off guard. Leslie Frazier would have been better, you know, and Leslie Frazier's a friend. I should not say anything. Should not besmirch him like that. But at the same time, I really do think that, you know, we do win the offseason quite a lot, but there's a lot to be excited about. And I could tell, you know, and Matt was having some fun with it, and he was having a good time. He was very gracious, very magnanimous, and it feels different. And, you know, talking about this in one of the conversations we had during Super Bowl week was how much different this organization feels, because when you look at everything that's going on with Jacksonville, or what happened with Jacksonville and New Orleans, struggling to find a coach and all this stuff, and it's like, we look like the normal team that went out there and took care of business. It is very unusual for the Chicago Bears to be the team that has its S together and is just taking care of business. And it's fun. And that's why it feels different. So let everybody sit there and be like, you guys always win the offseason. That's true. We really do. This time it feels different for legitimate reasons, because it feels like we have our ducks in a row. We look like a model organization. It's not us trying to wish cast. Fans of other teams are looking to be like, yeah, the Bears look like they got it together. We got the guy that everybody wanted. We look like we have it together. We got a coach. We got a quarterback. Now it's up to just making it happen on the field. As Matt Nagy said, win, beat the Packers. We got to get to that next step. So far, so good. Let's focus on all that stuff. Big thanks to Matt Nagy for joining us, and thanks to you for listening into this very special edition of the Sick Podcast with Adam Rankin. Sammy, go ahead and play us out.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Adam Rank on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.